Now from here, we go past Hobson's Conduit, which we're, again, about to see. In fact, it's probably better if I just go boom. There you go. And if you have a closer look, on the plaque it says, Thomas Hobson, carrier between Cambridge and London, a great benefactor to this university town, died 1st of January 1630 in the 86th year of his age. So that's quite a good innings. And this is basically where the water from Hobson's Brook goes underground. And it comes back up again depending on whether they turn the tap. Now what I mean by that is, down the road we're currently about to walk down, which is Trumpington Street, which is where the Fitzwilliam is down. Halfway down the road will magically appear what look like mini ditches either side of the road. And depending on the flow of the river, will indicate whether they've turned to the tap or not. In fact, we're just about to come to it about now. In fact, yep, tap's on. So basically, yeah, if you are a car driver, this is a bit of a car trap. It's not particularly safe for cyclists either, but it's part of our heritage. Leave Abrick alone kind of thing. So basically, that's it. And so that is basically a tiny little stream that flows from out beyond Addenbrooke's Way. The road that we're heading down now, we're heading in to the historical part, i.e. the tourist part of the city, going past what is now a very, very posh and refurbished hotel. In fact, from the people I know who've stayed in it, it's the Bistro Hotel Divan. They speak very highly of it. We're also coming to what is now the Judge Institute, which is where Cambridge University has all its management courses. But it used to be the old Addenbrooke's Hospital. And this restaurant that you see here, which is Brown's, this used to be the old outpatients department for Addenbrooke's. And it's not just the archives that tell me that, but my parents used to work there as nurses, which is where they met. And so this, I said, it's now the Judge Business School. Still got building works going on there. But back in the day, they didn't have the trees that you now have out in front. And a lot of the land round the back, which was obviously then effectively owned by the, or certainly used by the health services, used to be derelict until the university bought it up and built stuff on it. The other masterpiece that we have on the other side of the road, for those of you who will be familiar, is the Fitzwilliam Museum. Again, another one of Cambridge's masterpieces, this year celebrating its 200th birthday. And some of you may have seen the interview I did with Helen Ritchie, who's one of the researchers at the museum, with the two new 17th century era Roman cabinets, as in Roman because they come from Rome, as opposed to being kind of pre-birth of Christ Rome. But there is your Fitzwilliam Museum. And one of the things that I like to say time and time again is the Fitzwilliam belongs to all of us. It's not just something that's there for tourists, it's not just something there for Cambridge University people. It's there for everyone. Now, we're about to go past the oldest of Cambridge University's colleges, Peterhouse. There sometimes is endless debate as to whether it's Peterhouse College or whether it's just Peterhouse. My take is it's just Peterhouse, because I read it somewhere. Or because it's Peter's house, or Peter's house even. But as with most things in Cambridge, you don't see big signposts saying this is Peterhouse or this is Trinity College. It's just there. And this is what we have. Just there. And actually, the college itself goes back quite a long way into the site, so it may look quite narrow in terms of the site that it's on, but it goes back a fairly fair distance, because in the past when I've attended lectures there, I have got lost in the maze before. There's another very interesting building here, and this is the Emmanuel United Reformed Church. And what we have, and what I really like what they've done here, and if we can just get a little peek into it, because they have lunchtime concerts here. Okay, thank you.
There are some workmen in there at the moment,
okay.
But you'll go in.
We've just very kindly been given permission to film inside, and I just really want you to have a look inside, because what I really like what they've done here, as you can see by the flooring, is they've turned the church into a wonderful community space. So yes, they have their services, but what they've gone and done, and they've done the same with St Paul's, where we were in episode 3, part 2, they've taken out all of the pews and they now have a free open space which they can use for so many other things, ranging from dance classes to music rehearsals to conferences, you name it. And back again. So, having literally just crossed the road, we find ourselves standing right by, oh, hang on a minute, I've got former MP Julian Huppert who's just grabbed me. Hello. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
No rest for the wicked. I'm filming. This is Julian, who was our MP until the last general election. Now, the church behind us is one of the oldest in the city, and the site itself dates back to Saxon times. So it's one of the earliest sites of Christianity in Cambridge. The church that you can see behind us is actually itself dates back to, I think, about 1350. The other thing that you've got that you may have noticed is on these railings is lots and lots of posters. Ooh. Which is kind of like a mini tradition here, in that whenever you're organising an event locally, you print out lots of posters and you tie them to the railings of the churches so everyone can see them. Funnily enough, and I think I'll take a quick wander down King's Parade too, is not all of the railings survived to the present day. The reason for that is because, again, of the Second World War and the need for the country to turn things like old pots and pans and metal railings into guns, bombs and bullets to chase off the Nazis. Again, remember that statistic from the official logbook of all of the air raids in Cambridge. Over 30 people died in bombings and over 70 were injured, with over 1,500 bombs and other pieces of munitions dropped on this city during the Second World War. We've now got probably one of the quietest roads in the city, but also one of the most famous as well. We've got the chemistry and engineering laboratories here, as in the original ones, not the big ones out in West Cambridge. And it was here that you had a whole host of very, very famous experiments and discoveries made, but I shall leave it to the historians of science to tell you what they were. In fact, one of them is very nicely put here. Boom. There you go. The discovery of the electron. And actually what they've done here is a lot of these buildings on this side have been cleaned up and restored. Obviously not on that side. What we've got here are the very, very famous Cavendish labs. There you go. But as you can see, the labs, as they currently are, moved out to West Cambridge, which is where a lot of the modern university-backed or university-funded, developments are now taking place. We're just going to go through towards the Eagle pub. And many moons ago, in fact half my lifetime ago, I used to go drinking here regularly during my sixth form days. I've absolutely no idea why we picked it, or who picked it, as the pub for all of us 17, 18-year-olds to go and drink at, but we did. On Bennett Street, opposite St Bennett's Church. And it's called the Eagle because there's a big eagle there. Actually, no, I don't think that's the case. But we're about to now go on to King's Parade, which, picture postcard stuff, aesthetically beautiful, but is tourist hell. And don't be surprised if we get harassed by punt touts who have been such a problem for the locals that the City Council has actually gone and passed a bylaw restricting their activities, which has caused some consternation to some of them, given the basically the lack of space on the river and the number of people who want to actually run punting businesses, given that Scudamores are seen, certainly by the competition, effectively to have a monopoly. But one of the interesting things about the gate that we're walking past, and I'm just going to switch you around to this gate. This gate actually doesn't date back to the times of the chapel, even though it looks like it does. And actually, if you look at this clip that I pulled from a book from the county archives, you can see that traditional Tudor houses used to be on the front, and where all of these tourists are now sitting, there used to be railings there. They didn't used to be able to sit there. But again, it was during the Second World War that King's and many of the other colleges actually took down their railings as part of the war effort, due to the huge need for metal to supply the armaments industry. You've got the building that I call the Wedding Cake, which is Senate House. And again, if you look at this other clip that I've got, I'm just going to switch to Senate House again. There you go. This is the only part of the original plan that was actually built. There were supposed to be 3 buildings that looked something like that, but only one got built, and you can see that in the clip here, which really is part of a series written by, I think, Mr. Reeve, called Unbuilt Cambridge, or something like that. I should know because I've got the book in my bag. Now, where we're heading now is towards the Guildhall. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you around the back of the Guildhall, because last night I was looking at the British newspaper archives and stumbled across the original articles from when the Cambridge Corn Exchange was first built in 1875. Now, there was quite a bit of controversy around the Corn Exchange in terms of its function, not just as a corn exchange, because remember, in those days, Cambridge was a county, if not regional, trading hub for the agricultural industries, and hence the big corn exchange being a very useful thing to have. And at the time, it was and still is actually, the biggest indoors venue to hold big events. And I've actually had the pleasure of being on stage at such a sold-out event with the Dowsing Sound Collective in 2014. And when you have, over 1,400 people applauding your performance, it's quite mind-blowing. And this is the Corn Exchange. Now, the reason why I've come here is because of a very, very interesting incident that happened at the opening ceremony. The archives show that, I think it was about the band of the Coldstream Guards had come to perform at the opening ceremony in 1875 with the Mayor of Cambridge, a certain Alderman John Death, being actually no, he had just finished his mayoralty, and he was kind of like guest of honour. And the Coldstream Guards made a mistake with the notes they played for the national anthem. And a bunch of very badly behaved undergraduates decided this would be a splendid opportunity to have a riot, which they promptly did, ruining the performance. When the parties involved were hauled up before the courts, and in those days the Mayor of Cambridge and friends were also judges, or rather magistrates, the undergraduates decided now would be a good time to have another riot. And that was all over the papers. And if you look at the Cambridge Chronicle from 1875, you will see in their headline that badly behaved undergraduates was a regular occurrence, which makes me think, hang on a minute, where did this town gown divide originally come from? Was it the fault of the townsfolk, or was it the fault of badly behaved undergraduates coming from public schools all around the country to come around and trash our cities? And when you look at the newspaper archives and you look at the comments that are in the newspaper sections, you can see how local residents start becoming really annoyed at how city life is basically being disrupted by basically a bunch of rich posh boys having some larks. Their words, not mine. Or rather, the words of the archives rather than mine. I think that was an opinion piece in the Cambridge Chronicle or the Cambridge Independent Press, one of the two. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this section up because I'm going in that place for a Cambridge City Deal board meeting. The reason, and this is kind of is a very, very nice link as to one of the reasons why I'm doing the video series to the City Deal, because the City Deal is all about the future expansion of the city, in particular over the next 10-15 years, and trying to work out where to put a lot of the new transport infrastructure. Now, you remember I've mentioned on a number of occasions how we once had a tram system around this neck of the woods, which now we don't currently have. And one of the things I'm trying to impress on the decision makers in the Guildhall and in Shire Hall as well is not to make the same mistakes of the past that their predecessors made when it comes to not just infrastructure but also Guildhalls as well, because this effectively is the cheap version of the Guildhall that we could have had, and I'm still trying to work out why, certainly with the 1857, 1858 design, we didn't get it. So, yeah, more digging to be done. I shall see you soon.